Hi. Sorry. The net had some issue and it got disconnected. And I'm here. I'm just waiting for her to join in. We're talking about emotional intimacy here and how important it is in a marriage to feel valued, feel satisfied, feel what they are with each other. That's more important when it comes to emotional intimacy. And we have today Sangeeta Pathasarthi with us, and she is talking with us today to giving an elaborate thoughts and how these emotional intimacies are a mental blocks and where its roots are. And yes, I'm just waiting for her to come online. Just sent her the request.
Hi.
Hi, sorry,
Hey, did you
it
save
got
that live?
yes, it's saved.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Because
Yes.
so
Yes,
yes,
to go back to your point about there's a lot of time pressure, right?
yes,
Because it's a market, right? It's a marketplace for the families. Remember that it is not optimized for you or the man himself. It is optimized so that figureheads can go occupy
yeah,
that position in the hierarchy to
correct,
continue that socio-religious duty that you have,
correct,
which is to bear offsprings, which is to
yeah,
continue the religious rituals, if it's the
yeah,
girl, which is to, if this elder sons, whatever, right? All the religiously mandated, the position in the hierarchy, so that the sons can go and sit there and occupy it, right? And thinking that
yeah,
eventually the marriage will hold all of that. And if there are anything in the marriage, there is a huge layer of support in the form of this so-called family and community to resolve any and all things that come up, right? That is the core
yeah,
idea, that the marriage is all consuming, right?
yeah,
Which it
yeah,
may have been at some point. It
yeah,
certainly is not today, right?
yeah,
People are having lesser kids, people are living away from each other, it's a global world. There is not that container or safety inherent in that marriage, right?
yeah.
And there is no traditional wisdom that's being passed on, right? You're raising a
Yes,
child and you see red flags, and you go say to your mother, your grandmother, and whatever else, and you think that when it comes to child raising, you have all these women on all sides. Therefore, you're safe and supported, right? That's what you think.
yeah,
But there are so many women who have lost, whose gut feeling has said that there is something neurologically different about this child, who've consistently been gaslit and told, அவன் 5 வயசு தாண்டி பேசினா, இவன் அப்படி பண்றான், இப்படி பண்றான், எல்லாம் பெருமாள் பார்த்துப்பார், whatever it is, right? And then when they go to school, and then there's no place to hide, and you've lost those 3-4 years where you could have sought the right professional to help, right?
yeah,
So this is the world that we live in. Okay, 3 generations ago, somebody was neurodivergent would still be in the family and accepted, which is a
yes,
beautiful thing. But also, there was a safe space for that person to land. So we all know in our families where there'll be a young attai who's widowed and who'll stay in the family, and she'll do, she's an integral part, or this widowed uncle, or uncle with some nervous system issues. The family could consume all of that and more, right?
yeah,
We don't live in that world today at all.
yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
But
So, yeah.
yeah, what you are saying that we don't live in that world, yes, and there is so much of space for women right now to say, voice her thoughts,
No,
or
no, no, not from that perspective. What I said was that marriage cannot consume all of it today, which is why we need to.
okay,
So,
okay,
yeah, it's from that
I
angle,
got it, right?
right?
That angle, that we need that breathing space and
You
everything
need the
together.
emotional intimacy, and you need certain, the ground rules have changed massively, right? So we cannot go into it blind. You've seen marriages where the girl is city bred, very well educated, they get her married to like somebody
Yeah,
who's just
yeah,
not a match for her at any level, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We don't live in a
yeah,
world like that today, right? Like, imagine that. So we do need these, to feel intellectually stimulated, to feel connected,
yeah,
to be fond of each other, and to make memories together, and be equal, and all that, right? So we do need that
sorry,
today, right? And
yeah,
yet we're still kind of referring to the old handbook, right?
yeah, yeah. As you said that the previous thing is somewhere, that baggage is still there with us. Whatever we have seen or whatever we have been modeled or whatever we've seen and grown up, and that also kind of, I believe, that creates fear towards marriage or fear towards the unknowns that might come in the marriage.
Yeah, both women and men
And
are
that could
terrified of
be,
marriage. Yes.
yeah, that could also be a mental block or a block that can create a good emotional intimacy towards marriage.
Yes.
Yeah, like if I
Yes.
have seen abusive marriages in my family or when I'm being brought up, so that could be a mental block for me to, like, I have that set boundaries that I will not allow my partner to barge in.
Yes. Absolutely.
How do you see that,
And
and how do
vice
you
versa.
think that this
Yeah,
can be
that's the
overcome?
whole of what I work with, right? It's stored in the
Hmm.
body. It's not just a mind block, right? It's actually stored in the body. Your nervous system
Exactly.
carries
Yeah.
imprints of what happened in your family when you were growing up. And that
Yeah.
forms the basis of everything you do, right? How you parent, how you show up in relationship with your partner, how extremely scared of vulnerability you are, thinking that
Yeah.
you're going to give up power over the male because you grew
Yeah.
up in patriarchy, right? And like I
Yes.
said, I think I said this the last time, it doesn't help that it's become all about power and control, right? So where
Hmm.
the mother-in-law will say, the man should be dominant in the family, and don't
Yeah.
and saying that she's using her sexual wiles. It'll be some form of this, right? Kaikula
Hmm.
pottita, essentially
Hmm.
using her sexual wiles to get her
Hmm.
husband to do as she wishes. That is what they will
Hmm.
say. Then for the girls side, will be like,
Yeah.
be careful, don't share, have a separate bank account, etc.,
Yeah.
etc., until you trust them, be
Hmm.
careful, do this, do that. And it's about manipulation, subversion, control. That is what happens when you live in a patriarchal society, right? To survive.
Hmm.
And if you saw
Hmm.
that growing up, and all of the work that I do has cultural trauma, right?
Yeah.
All of the work that I do,
Yeah.
everybody like, all of the work is rooted in this patriarchal trauma that both men and women carry in their bodies deeply.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
it's not just a mind block, it is
It's a
much deeper than
bunch.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
shows up absolutely in how
Yeah.
vulnerable we're letting ourselves be. And also this question around what is accepted as love
Yeah.
and intimacy versus what is him having power over me. And that difference, it's a very,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're very defensive, we're guarded, right? We don't want to repeat what happened to our mothers and grandmothers. Yes. And so a lot of times the defense is inbuilt, and it happens before you're even consciously aware of it. Yes. It's a
Yeah.
very hard, yes, that's true.
1 minute. Sorry for that. So yes, what you said was very nice, and I also feel that, see, if I have grown up seeing my father not showing love to my mom, or not expressing his emotions to my mother, or uh, or showing only when it is anger, don't I model that only as emotional intimacy or emotional connect in a marriage? And
Yes.
that becomes very hard, or I might reflect that in my marriage in future.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Yeah, what we see is what we imbibe, right? And it's very unfortunate that in our families, man can hit, there can be loud and abusive words spoken in public, and then you make up in private, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like
Sad.
they would have made up, right, in private, right? There might have been a lot of tender moments in private, but the
Yeah.
child never sees that, right?
Yeah.
So that is what you're expecting out of marriage, both men and women, right? The man is thinking he's in his right to do that. And an unbelievable number of women think that the man is completely within his right to hit her
Yeah. Yeah.
and discipline her when needed because she doesn't know any better, right? It's unbelievable how many women think that that's absolutely okay in a marriage because that's what they saw
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
And they think they're lower than the man because you do, when in an arranged marriage, get the man married to somebody who the girl is not as educated, has no real world experience, is younger, maybe even less money than the man's family, right? So in every way you make sure that she's less than, and you never let her forget
Yeah.
that, right? And that's
Yeah.
her role which she has internalized, right? So
Yeah.
it's unbelievable the number of women who think, forget men, who think that physical aggression in a marriage, especially when it's the man can hit me in a marriage, and because they've internalized that in the hierarchy, they also hit their children and they see nothing wrong with it, right? Adiyadu maadu padiyadu. This is what they say, right?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
perpetrating that violence by being a part of that patriarchal cycle, which women are very much a part of, right? The
Yeah.
man, remember, is the president. He's not the prime minister, right? He
Yeah.
says these are the rules, but it's the woman who internalizes and executes it, right?
Yep.
So women are very much perpetrating that same abuse and violent thing, right? And while men can be physically aggressive, the woman can be manipulative and subversive, passive aggressive, controlling, other
Yeah.
ways of playing that power game, right? And
Yeah.
if you've seen that, absolutely, that's what you bring into the marriage.
Yeah. So yesterday when I had actually put the countdown and all those things, I had one random person who actually pinged me and told me and asked this one straightforward question. Um, is lack of emotional intimacy a red flag in a relationship?
Yes.
A reason, can I have that as a reason to separate myself
Yes.
even if I have kids?
Yes. Yes.
Today when we say that or when we talk to our parents that this marriage is not working, the usual thought or the common thought that comes is உனக்கு குழந்தை இருக்கு உன்னை அடிக்கிறது இல்ல உனக்கு வந்து அவன் தம் அடிக்கிறது இல்ல ஆல்கஹால் கன்சியூம் பண்றது இல்ல சோ நீ ஏன் இது வந்து யூ வாண்ட் டு டு யூ ஹேவ் எவ்ரிதிங் வை டு யூ வாண்ட் டு கெட் செப்பரேட்டட் பட் I see lack of emotional intimacy as one of the major red flags in a marriage.
Yeah. So emotional intimacy has two sides to it, right?
Yeah.
One side is you being emotionally intimate with your own self.
Yeah.
Okay. The second precondition to that is you having a coherent narrative of who you are, which for a lot of us is deeply fragmented and disoriented, right? So you don't know who is coming up in the relationship, right? One day you are the 4-year-old that was criticized and not let to speak, and that wounded 4-year-old shows up. The next day your current self shows up. The next day your teenage self shows up, right? And these are all selves that have different needs that weren't met at that age appropriately, right?
Yeah.
So I think emotional intimacy has two sides to it. One is daring to go within yourself and be emotionally intimate with yourself, every aspect of yourself, every aspect, the shadow self, the dark self.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on emotional intimacy with myself? What is that? Not many people are able to get that.
Yeah. When I say being intimate with yourself, It is about having access to all the sides of yourself, not just a narrative memory of who you think you are. Okay, so who a lot of us see when we develop, right? Just like we develop physically, we also develop emotionally, right? And just as in every phase of our physical development, we need certain nutrients, certain prerequisites for our body to develop optimally. At every emotional phase of a child's journey, nervous system, brain related, there are a set of emotional requirements from the caregiver. Okay. So, broadly speaking, that is emotional attunement, accurate mirroring back of who you are, and then there is a coherent narrative, a sense of self. Okay.
Yeah.
Many of us did not have that at all.
No.
Right? So, when we are not aware of any of those, we project these things on the partner and make them responsible for something else which is not their baggage, right? So what I'm saying is, can emotional intimacy or lack of it be a reason for people to separate? Yes. But again, the accountability that I would say is that have you been emotionally intimate with yourself? Because if you have not, then you don't know who's turning up and what they're expecting and what it is very blended, you see, right? You don't know what your inner wound you're projecting versus it's a real need that is not being met, right?
Yeah.
So if you can uncouple the two and then still there is not that thing that you need, then yeah, but we don't uncouple, right? We project. It's your fault. It's you, right?
So I really wish somebody told me at some point in time before I got married that so for me, I started going to a therapist at the age of 26. I realized I got married at 28. But even today, I have a therapist for myself that I go. Because I feel that somewhere that my old scars or more old wounds at different age of life or the simplest wounds, it could be a very, very small thing that I was not heard of, that sometimes it comes up in my marriage. So, and it's the same with my partner. So both of us have separate therapists with us that we constantly need to work upon. But doesn't it make a very genuine thought that maybe 18 plus or 19 plus or in that age or when you are actually eligible to go and talk to somebody alone, to a therapist or somebody, you can actually start working on your inner self?
Yeah.
Would you advise somebody at an age of 19, 20 when they are in the college, when there is independent decisions that they take, or you have an opinion for yourself? So where does this opinion come from? So when you start making opinions or thoughts or philosophies around, so do you think that that would be a right phase to do that kind of inner work also simultaneously?
Any age is a good age to start developing your sense of inner self, right?
Okay.
And if there are developmentally appropriate things that you can do from when children are very young to promote that kind of thinking, right? But to your point about adulthood and independent decision making and searching in the world and finding out who you are, right? That assumes that you have a period where you're financially independent, physically away from parents, for quite a number of at least 2 to 4 years where you could explore that, right? And that space is heavily curtailed, right? That's the problem, right? And my rule of thumb is if you've not left home, don't get married.
Wow.
No.
Sadly, I think I think I also
No, if
feel
you've
that.
not lived by yourself at least for 2 years, men or women, don't get married. Because that's a child marrying a child. Right? Then you are co-opting into that first kind of marriage that I described.
Yeah.
No matter
Yeah.
if you think you're in love, right? Oops, is it not audible now?
Am I audible?
Am I audible now?
Yes.
I can hear a bit of feedback. Hold on. Is it better?
Okay. Better. Am I audible to you?
No. Somebody typed that in the comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, see, why I said 18,
Two
19.
children. No. But that's what I'm saying, right? No matter how old you are, in that first type of marriage that I described, you are a child, right? Who through the marriage process of marriage and having children get into adulthood only as a way for you to perpetrate or continue what the status quo, not for you to question, right? So the emotional adulthood is not a prerequisite for the first kind of marriage.
Yeah.
Only obeisance, obedience, submission is the only prerequisite. Okay, so you can get married at 14, 16, or you can be a 30-year-old person with, the emotional development of a 14-year-old. It doesn't matter. You qualify, right, in that marriage.
Yeah.
And somehow that marriage thrives because of those rules. But if you want to be in this kind of marriage, you have to be an adult. You have to be an emotional adult before you date, or as you date, or through the process of dating, right? For which you have to separate yourself from the parental geography, right? So if you want this kind of marriage, you have to take accountability for yourself, for your emotions, for your inner work, for what you have to do, for which you need to put physical, geographical distance between you and your community or family, at least for 2 to 4 years, right? Otherwise, don't delude yourself that you chose that kind of marriage. You're still on this side. Right? You can call it love, right? You can call it dating. You can go for holidays. You can have this beautiful proposal in Maldives where you're underwater and you give her a ring with all the family watching. It doesn't matter, right? Wearing a bikini doesn't mean that you're in this kind of marriage, right? Let's not kid ourselves, okay?
Yeah.
If you're not emotionally at that point, you're still here, right?
Yeah. So, yes, you don't see in the first kind of marriage that still couples can work on this emotional connect.
Yes, absolutely. Why not? Right? Yeah, why not? It is about each person, right? It's about each family situation. And a lot of couples grow individually, right? They grow from that emotion, grow into emotional adulthood through that process also, as you can do with this side also, right? So yes, I mean, it is not, look, it's about the resilience and safety of that container, whether it's an external container or the container that you have built by yourselves, right? As long as that container is safe, the work or the inner work can unfold in that container, right? But the problem is with that container itself, right? If that container is shaky, that's the foundation, right? If the foundation is shaky, there's nothing you can do to build on top of it, right? That's kind of going to be futile, right? So that is the bottom line. It's not like this marriage is better or that marriage is better, but it's about understanding what the resources are on this side and what the resources are on that side, and fundamentally understanding the safety of that foundation, right? Now, if that foundation is strong, it can take a lot of stresses as people grow, right? As people grow and continue to grow and make mistakes and learn, because it's resilient. It's resilient. It will bounce back. The lows and highs, all marriages will have lows and highs. But what differentiates a functional marriage from a dysfunctional one is that there is that safety and that resilience, that ability to bounce back, right?
Yeah, ability to bounce back matters a lot. Yes, so How do you think that how do you think that two strangers come together and get this whole understanding of this marriage as an institution? Because
I
we
don't
have
think you
this
do,
lack
right?
of.
I
No,
mean,
I
when
feel that we don't
people
get that
usually
thought
when
only.
people meet, the sparks
Mm,
fly, and it's all oxytocin, it's
yeah.
cortisol, it's a cocktail of hormones, it's lust, right? You know, there is, and that's there for a reason, right? That's the evolutionary purpose of copulating. Other than the social
Yeah.
religious aspect, the need for us to procreate is also in our DNA, right? I'm in the
Yeah.
sense that I'm not judging anybody's choice to have or not have kids. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that
Yeah.
sexual attraction has certain evolutionary connotations to it. That's all I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? For example, big boobs, uh, wide pelvis, right, is a turn on
Mm,
for the male, because it's also
yeah.
related to breastfeeding and ability to carry babies,
Carry
for
babies.
example. That's an
Yeah.
example. Like that's
Yeah.
that's the wiring, right? A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a background to that, right? I'm not saying everybody should have kids. I'm definitely not saying that. In fact, I think having kids should be a conscious choice that not everybody should do because somebody says you should. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, that's not at all what I'm saying. But I'm saying that um, sexual attraction has that aspect to it also. Yes.
Mm,
I mean, if you go with the choice, right?
yeah.
Or even if you, I mean, arranged marriage, I guess, but that's more like பொண்ணு குண்டா இருக்கா எனக்கு பிடிக்கல, something like that, right?
Yeah.
மாப்பிள்ளை
Yeah.
கருப்பா இருக்கான் எனக்கு பிடிக்கல, that sort of thing. It's
Mm,
pretty sort of, I don't think it gets beyond that point, right? And I don't think
yeah. You can never.
sexual attraction is a prerequisite. It's just that as long as the other person's physical appearance doesn't repulse you, you're good to
Yeah.
go, right? That's kind
Yeah.
of the basics there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I also tell in my workshops. So my workshops related to premarital conversations I have where this courtship period is usually all this, oh, I love you, and then I miss you, and then this and that, and where will my pre-wedding shoot will be, and where, what is this, and what is that. But then we miss out the basic setting the basic foundation, or then the later the couples feel that இது நான் முன்னாடியே சொல்லியிருக்கணும் உன்கிட்ட, or இது நான் உன்கிட்ட முன்னாடியே கேட்டிருக்கணும். If this was this, I would have not got married to you. So it feels
That is a pretty, see, and the word, I feel like that's a very violent thing, right? You get married, and have children, and that word in itself, இது தெரிஞ்சிருந்தா நான் கல்யாணம், that's so violent, right? It's very violent because that assumes that it's a marketplace, kada, right? Goods once sold cannot be, I bought this because I thought this object would
yeah,
do this,
yeah,
and I brought it home and it's the wrong color. Now I can't return it, right? That objectifies both the man and the woman, right? அது ரொம்ப கொச்சப்படுத்துற மாதிரி இருக்கு. And that word itself is very violent, right? Because you know what? You can get married to the person that you think you're marrying with all kind of things, but people change through a marriage.
yeah.
What are you going to do then, right?
Yeah.
Somebody could be like super religious, etc., etc. Then something happens in their life. They could
Yeah.
become atheists. So you're going to give up on them, right? So what? You married them for that religious purpose, right? Said religious purpose. And the box tick பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான், right? You're not looking at them for them as your life partner, as somebody who adds value to your life and somebody that you love and cherish no matter what, right? That there is
Yeah.
none of that, right? Amma சொல்ற பொண்ணு, following all of, there's no, putting on weight after marriage, putting on weight after kids, praying to a different god. It can happen to men and women, right? Or
Yeah.
changing food habits is another one. People
Yep.
may eat meat and then they might give it up, or people may be vegetarians and then they can become vegans,
Yeah.
for example, right? People
Yeah.
change. So this idea that முன்னாடியே நான் எல்லாம் சொல்லியிருந்தா I would not have married you is very violent. That kind of,
But
I think it's,
that
it shows
nobody considers
how
that
less
to
we
be a
think
violent
of the
actually.
institution of marriage, right? கத்திரிக்காய் வியாபாரம் தான் அது. That is கத்திரிக்காய் வியாபாரம், right? That is objectification in itself.
But this is a very, very common statement, and as you said, and I learned something today that it's violent. I didn't realize that it is violence. Yes, those words shouldn't be used against anybody because that is going to defame somebody emotionally. But as you said, nobody considers this as violence, Sangitaka. They don't consider this as objectification. This is not objectification, is what people think.
Yeah, but that shows you how less we know about emotional intimacy and our need for that. And
Yeah.
this idea of partnership, the idea of being in a relationship together where
Yeah.
you allow space for each other to evolve, however that is, whether it's in line with your convenience or it is not in line with your convenience. It's about honoring that person, right? And honoring the journey that you're in together. But we don't see it like that at all. That's what I'm saying, right? We think that we're moving towards this. We're still firmly here in some ways with a little bit of
Yeah.
modifications. It's this.
Very
It's
true.
this.
Very true.
See, in those days, when they used to go to see the girl, um, a female member or male, whatever, right? They used to apparently pull at the girl's pinnal, jadai, to see if it's real hair or, the,
Okay.
whatever, what is that? Either. So, அதே தானே இதுவும். It's like saying,
Correct.
நான் உன் ஜடைய அன்னைக்கு பிடிச்சு பார்க்கல, பிடிச்சிருந்தா and you had short hair, I would not have married you even then. It's the same. It's objectifying a woman's body, mind, everything, right? There's so much violence in that, don't you think?
Yeah. Very true.
It's not,
Very
I
true.
won't see you for who you are, right? I'm going to create an
Mold
image
you
of who
to
you
be.
are. And if you fit that, I approve. If you don't fit that, you're out of my life, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we do. Whole patriarchy is based on that, right?
Yeah.
Nobody gives a fuck about that elder son, right? Who he really is or what his beliefs are, nothing. Because he's a figurehead who has to sit in front of that fire. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same thing with a daughter-in-law. You don't give a fuck who she is, right? She just has to be there like a doll, sit next to him. Because otherwise, that whatever fire thing you're doing, he can't do. That's it. It's a representation. Right?
Yeah.
So we think that even marriages, we put people on a pedestal, right? It comes from idol worship, right? Because we put gods in a pedestal and not really understanding that God is within us, living, breathing, right? It's the same thing with every relationship, right? Wife na ipdi irukano. The mother of my child needs to be like this. Ellame or a representation da. It's all fictitious. You objectify everything and put it in its place. That's all. That's patriarchy, right? Whether it's God or whether it's the son or the daughter-in-law, right? Or the wife itself, right?
Yeah. So, okay, whether it's this side or this side, whichever construct of marriage it is. So, how do you think if I want to be emotionally connect with my husband or some husband wants to connect himself, but எனக்கு பண்ண தெரியல, I don't know what to do because that is not what I have modeled in my life. I have not seen, but that is my partner's need. I want to do. So where do I start?
Yeah. The more
should I go inside me or should I go out? So that's the question that a lot of people ask.
It's not either or, right? It's not either or because your internal, see, when you're in a relationship, right? Our nervous systems are syncing, right? So your nervous system state will be mirrored by that of your partner and vice versa, right? Okay, so there is a coherence whether you like it or not, right? Where you're same thing with our children, right? The more internal work that I do to coming back from dysregulation back to connection and safety, right? The more my children's nervous systems are regulated because there is safety. I'm modeling safety and connection over everything else, right? It's the same thing with the partner, right? So the more inner work that I can do, okay. It changes how I show up in the world, including how I show up as a mother for my children and how I show up as a wife for my husband. right? What I'm saying is, say the husband wants emotional intimacy and I don't know how to do it. But if I'm practicing being emotionally intimate with myself, which usually means that I am observing my shadow parts, the parts that I don't like, the parts that create shame, the parts where I criticize myself, right? And the self-critical parts and all of that. And I start building emotional intimacy with those parts, with compassion. I'm more able to create space where the husband can be vulnerable with me and show me all of his parts without being criticized, and you holding space for it without being judgmental or critical, because that shuts down intimacy, right? Straight away.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So those two are interrelated, right? So should I go inside? Should I go outside? I think they're sort of connected in that sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Both
I'm not
needs
saying
to
you
be
shouldn't
done
do,
simultaneously.
relational work, but I think building a good foundation for our internal awareness will also have an impact on the external awareness. But yeah, absolutely, there are relational aspects and dynamics that need to be explored in that space. So I think there's time for both, and it's a journey, right? So maybe in some phases you're doing the internal work separately, and then you come together to do a bit of couple work, then you go back and come back, and
Back.
it's a journey, right? It's a dynamic process, and your body is going to tell you what you need at that point. So
Yeah.
follow the body. Yeah.
Yeah. We've lost that, I guess, that follow the body itself. We've become so disconnected with our own bodies that we don't understand what is our body trying to tell us or give us some signals. Like, I don't know, it took me almost 2 years in the therapy to be, and then that's when I was ready for marriage. I told that even though it's a love marriage, I'm not going to be hurrying before I finish this work that I need to do for myself, because it's totally unfair for my partner. Even though I know him, even though he understands me, but how do I get into a marriage with such a big baggage? So yes, we are disconnected with our bodies, and it's time that we first do that inner work and unlearning and learning a little. So, how do you want to look at this emotional intimacy and marriage? Like the last few thoughts about it.
Yeah, I think emotional intimacy, seeking it and not being met, can be very scary, even more scary than physical intimacy, right? It's very vulnerable, and it also goes into the very deep of our souls, where you reach out and your needs weren't met, and there was a lot of shame around the expressing of needs, and that can be very, very vulnerable, right? So I think emotional intimacy is when you shift and look at a marriage, right? The holy grail being the physical, the penetration stuff, and then I see the emotional intimacy as the next layer, which is even more vulnerable, and it requires us to go deep into ourselves and relationally, right? And then probably the next level is the spiritual intimacy, right? Where we see ourselves as, part of that continuum, right? And that requires even more deeper, kind of work, right? And the thing is, we don't always need to be in sync at the same time. Each of us will go as deep as we are comfortable with, right? It's not something that has a timeline and can be rushed. It's not a task, but I mean, keep at it. And I think fundamentally it's that idea of co-regulation, safety, and connection, and then everything else is kind of layered on top of it. Emotional intimacy is a prerequisite to, I mean, it's an important part of the marriage. So when people get divorced because of physical intimacy issues, it's kind of generally more accepted, right? But I think the emotional intimacy is far more important, and it has deep reaching implications on your body. We think that it doesn't matter. It does.
Yeah.
Lack of emotional intimacy can and does show up as even in house. So you think oh, it's alcoholism or cocaine. It's not that. Being addicted to carbs and sugar, for example, right? Household women being addicted to soap operas, being addicted to drama, emotional drama, the highs and lows,
Yeah.
right? All of that is the body. They're all related to not feeling heard, and this lack of emotional intimacy. So it's not like the older generation had it, right?
Mm.
Or that they didn't acutely feel it. They've just dissociated in this manner, right? And
Yeah.
men have their own whatever they do, right, to kind of um, you know go away from that hurt, and that's a big hurt,
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
no living functionally without it. There isn't.
Yeah.
Nobody does
Yeah.
that, right? In the West, it's
Yeah.
alcohol. Here, it's soap operas and wumble on the phone and getting emotionally riled up. That high, being addicted to that, the dopamine
Yeah.
high, and
Yeah.
sugar, and the increase in sugar and carbs and the immediate kind of thing that it does. So
Yeah.
it's not that our women are functional without or that they don't acutely feel it. They turn it inwards, right? And then it affects the body.
Yeah.
So blood pressure and all sorts, right? So there's a lot of connection between emotions and how it is we see it in the body. Stress, that's
Yeah.
what puts all those tires that we have around our bellies, right?
Yeah.
So there is a yeah, it's not something that's a nice to have. It's a must have, and there are far-reaching implications to not being met, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we don't realize how far it can actually impact our life, physical, mental, and everything. We just feel that okay, so what? No, it's not just so what. It's much, much beyond that in a marriage because you're spending the rest of the 80 years or 90 years with the person. So you got to be able to sleep with the person, sleep with yourself, being contained in that marriage, right?
Yeah,
So thank
definitely.
you so much. Thank you so much, Sangitaka, for always coming up. Like for me, you nurtured this idea in a very different manner. So for me, that matters made a lot of strength because we discussed something else and we just brought it today with a different perspective to it, and I feel that's always why I will look up to you for.
Thank you.
And thank you for that. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for all the work that you do. Keep going. A lot of women are looking out for you. We need more
Thank you
people like
so
you.
much. And it really, when you it's very nice to hear encouraging words. As you know, when you're, in the care providing business, yeah,
Yeah.
it's very different, right? So some days, you're, it's really nice to know and be mirrored back in the work that you do, right? That's mirroring
Yeah.
and saying, hey, you're doing a good job, and that's how I think women have to do more of that and hold that for each other, right? I think
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
it more often to each other
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
makes a difference. Really makes.
Yeah.
I say it to some of my friends in birth work, and it really, I know how genuinely that landed that day, and like they really needed to hear it. I feel the
Yeah.
same way when you say it, right? Like I have been off lives for a while, and when you connect and say, why aren't you doing it, come on, let's do it, it's
Yeah.
really encouraging to me as well. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, I really feel, I say this to you and Swati. 2020, there are few people whom my paths have crossed, and I'm really feel glad that 2020 is made for me. That's enough. That's for me. That's enough for me. I don't seek beyond it. I'm happy there was no emergency scenarios in my family, and I'm happy I had met few people through this digital world. And if I look back, I'm happy with 2020. Enough. I'm satisfied. So, yes, thank you for what you are. Thank you for being who you
Thank
are.
you, and keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an
Yeah,
amazing job.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you guys for joining in. Thank you for listening to this video. Catch you all on some other live session with some other conversations. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.